She never expected a moment like this. In the noise of cheering families, camera flashes, and the sharp scent of polished uniforms, she believed she was invisible, just another proud parent sitting in the bleachers of a Marine Corps graduation. But when a Marine captain walking past suddenly stopped, went completely pale, and stared at the tattoo hidden beneath the sleeve of her old denim jacket, the world around her seemed to freeze. For the first time in years, Maria felt the past she had tried so hard to bury rushing back, raw, painful, and louder than the shouting crowd around her. Maria had come early that morning, long before the sun climbed over the edges of the parade deck. She sat alone, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, staring at the empty field where her son would stand among hundreds of new Marines. This day was supposed to be about him, about his strength, his survival, his dreams. She had rehearsed how she would smile, how she would clap, how she would pretend her heart wasn't aching with memories she never shared with anyone. But as the metal bleachers filled with parents, families, and proud siblings, she pulled her sleeve down just a little farther, careful to hide the faded ink on her forearm that had once meant everything. Her son, Daniel, believed she had never served. He believed she had spent his childhood working quietly, steadily, doing her best to raise him alone after his father disappeared. And that much was true. But what he didn't know, what she could never tell him, was that she had once worn the uniform too, briefly, painfully, and with a cost that followed her like a shadow. She had been young, full of fire, full of promise. She had enlisted with dreams of becoming everything her own parents believed she couldn't be. But an accident during training, one she still remembered with a sharp, haunting clarity, had ended her path before it truly began. The tattoo she carried was not a mark of pride, it was a reminder of everything she lost. As the Marine band began to warm up, families adjusted their signs and flowers, whispering excitedly. Maria remained still. She tried to swallow the familiar weight in her chest, a tightness she had felt every day since the accident. The smell of fresh-cut grass, the crisp uniforms, the rhythmic footsteps of marching Marines, it all brought her back, and for a moment, she felt like a young recruit again, standing in the hot sun, believing she would someday make her family proud. But her dreams had shattered, and she had spent the next 2 decades rebuilding a life from the broken pieces. She had never told Daniel because she didn't want him to feel pressure, or guilt, or expectation. His desire to become a Marine was his own, and she wanted it to stay pure. She wanted him to believe she supported him with the pride of a civilian mother, not with the pain of someone who once walked the same path and had it taken away. She wanted his journey to be untouched by her past. But life has a way of bringing buried truths back to the surface. The graduation ceremony began with a booming announcement, and hundreds of Marines marched into formation. Maria's heart leaped to her throat when she spotted Daniel, tall, strong, sharper than she had ever seen him. He moved like someone who had carved himself out of discipline and determination. Her eyes stung with tears as she watched him stand still, chin up, shoulders squared. Pride washed over her in a way she had never felt before, but just beneath it lay the steady tremble of fear that someone, anyone, would see the tattoo she carried and remember. And that was when it happened. As families settled down and officers stepped forward, a Marine captain moved through the rows checking the seating areas. Just routine, nothing unusual. Maria kept her head down. But when she shifted in her seat, her jacket sleeve slipped back for half a second. The captain's eyes caught the ink, faded, worn, but unmistakable. He stopped mid-step, his face draining of color. For a moment, he looked like a man who had seen a ghost. Maria froze. The captain stared at her tattoo, an identical mark once given only to a small, elite group of recruits from a specific training battalion. A battalion that had faced a devastating accident during a live-fire exercise 20 years earlier. An accident that had claimed lives. An accident that had ended careers. An accident he had survived. Maria felt her breath catch, the old wound ripping open inside her. She remembered the explosion, the chaos, the ground trembling beneath her. She remembered waking up in a hospital bed, unable to move her leg, unable to hear out of one ear, trembling as she learned that the path she fought so hard to reach had been shut forever. That accident didn't just injure her, it rewrote her entire life. The captain stepped closer. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. The recognition in his eyes was something she had never wanted anyone to see again. She lowered her gaze, pulling her sleeve down, her fingers shaking. Shame flooded her. Shame she thought she had buried years ago. This day was supposed to be about her son, not about her past. The captain cleared his throat, steadied his posture, and moved on, respecting her silence, her space, her desire to remain unseen. But the moment shattered something inside her. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't look up. The past she had fought so hard to escape had followed her all the way here, to her son's proudest day. The ceremony continued. Applause rose and fell like waves, medals glinted under the sun, and parents cried as their sons and daughters were called forward. Maria tried to clap, tried to smile, but she felt hollow. She feared Daniel might see the truth in her eyes. She feared the captain might approach him, or worse, that he might ask questions she wasn't ready to answer. When the graduation ended and families rushed onto the parade deck, Maria walked slowly, trying to hold herself together. She found Daniel standing tall, looking at her with a smile so bright it pushed back the darkness trying to swallow her. She hugged him tightly, feeling his strength, hoping it would anchor her. But life wasn't finished with her yet. Moments later, the Marine captain approached them. Daniel straightened, saluting him. The captain returned the salute with quiet respect, then looked at Maria. She braced herself for the truth to spill out, for the shame to drown the joy of the day. But instead, the captain did something unexpected. He extended his hand, not to Daniel, but to her. He spoke in a calm, steady voice, one filled with understanding and history. Though his words weren't recorded here in dialogue, the meaning settled deeply within her. He acknowledged what she had endured, what she had survived, and the sacrifice she carried silently for 2 decades. He reminded her that service was not measured by how long one stayed in uniform, but by the courage it took to step into it in the first place. He told Daniel, with a reverent, solemn tone, that his mother was stronger than anyone he knew. Daniel turned to her with tears in his eyes, and for the first time, she saw not disappointment or shock, but awe. He finally understood the quiet resilience that had shaped his childhood, the strength that had carried them through every hardship. He wrapped his arms around her, and she let herself break, let herself cry in a way she hadn't cried since she was 18. The wound she had carried for so long began to ease, not disappear, but soften, held together by the truth finally shared, by the pride finally reclaimed. The captain saluted her, a gesture she had never expected, one she had long believed she didn't deserve. And in that moment, the years of buried pain lifted from her shoulders like dust carried away by the wind. For the rest of the day, Maria walked lighter. She watched her son laugh with his fellow Marines, she walked across the base with her head held higher than she ever had, and she finally allowed herself to feel proud, not of what she once hoped to be, but of what she had become. A survivor. A mother. A woman who had given her son the strength to chase the dreams she once lost. And somewhere deep inside her, a healing she never imagined began to bloom. As the sun set over the proud silhouettes of newly minted Marines, Maria realized something she had never dared to believe: she had never truly failed. She had simply lived a different story, one that mattered just as much. And maybe, even more. If this story touched your heart, please consider supporting the video so more people can find inspiring stories like this one. Special request. Before you go, take a moment to comment what part of Maria's journey moved you the most.